What if I told you that hidden data from the second week of testing in Bahrain reveals that Oscar Piastri is exploiting the MCL40 to a level that could seriously bother McLaren? And that Mark Webber would no longer be willing to remain silent? Because we are not talking about simple preseason times. We are talking about telemetry that shows that the car is strong on 2/3 of the lap, that Piastri was faster on 65% of the track, that he was just 0.010 seconds off the direct reference, and that McLaren is still not maximizing its full potential under the new regulations. Is the team wasting performance? Is Piastri proving that he can lead the technical evolution of the project? And what happens when the data starts to say something that public discourse doesn't reflect? What happened in the second week in Bahrain was not a simple test. The second week of testing in Bahrain left something much more important than a timetable. It left patterns. And in Formula One, bosses are more dangerous than a starter. Oscar Piastri was not only competitive, he was consistently fast in different conditions. Classification simulation medium runs work with different fuel loads. On the last morning he set a 1 minute and 32.861 seconds that placed him third, but what was truly shocking was not the position, but the real proximity to the reference group. When he was just 0.010 seconds behind the direct reference on another day, it was not a miracle lap. It was the result of a car that, when fuel is released and the engine map is optimized, has real peak performance. And here the fine analysis begins. The MCL40 proves to be extremely robust in mechanical stability. When entering corners, especially in braking zones combined with progressive rotation, the car maintains a very clean platform. There are no violent bounces, no sudden steering corrections, no abrupt losses of rear load. That allows Piastri to attack the apex with confidence and anticipate the application of power before others. But the data that really ignited internal conversations was this. The car is faster on approximately 65% of the track when analyzed sector by sector compared to direct references. That means that aerodynamically the base is strong. So where is the problem? At times of maximum energy demand of the power unit. In phases where electrical deployment and thermal management are critical, the MCL40 loses part of the advantage accumulated in the rest of the turn. It is not a structural chassis problem. It is a problem of complete integration under the new 2026 regulations, where engine and aerodynamics must coexist even more efficiently. And this is key, because when a car already shows that it has performance on most of the track, the room for improvement is in fine details. You don't need a revolution. You need optimization. But that optimization requires understanding what exactly the pilot is doing when he finds those tents. And Piastri is finding those tents. Mileage supports the credibility of the data. It was not a short program. McLaren racked up 817 laps in total over the 6 days. Piastri completed 215 turns in the first block and returned to work extensively in the second week. That allowed cross comparisons of setups, engine maps, power distribution, and suspension settings. We're not talking about impressions. We are talking about dense data. Piastri described the test as productive, noting that they are understanding what the car likes and doesn't like. That phrase, apparently neutral, is deeper than it seems, because it implies that the car has a wide range of behavior depending on the setup. And when a car has a wide window but is not yet perfectly exploited, the driver who first finds that window becomes an internal reference. That is exactly what has started to happen. While Mercedes and Ferrari seem a small step ahead in fully exploiting the package, McLaren is still fine-tuning. But the distance is not structural. It is operational. And that's where the message gets uncomfortable. Because if the car has latent performance, and one of the drivers is beginning to unlock it, the question is no longer whether McLaren is competitive. The question is whether they are maximizing everything they have. And in Formula One, the difference between being close and being ahead can be just a tenth. During the second week in Bahrain, the focus changed. It was no longer just validating reliability. It was understanding the real limits of the package under variable load conditions, aggressive maps, and long runs with progressive degradation. And there appeared an interesting pattern. When the car entered qualifying simulation with low fuel and full engine map opening, the performance emerged clearly. But in long race simulations, the behavior was different. The car was still stable, still showing solid traction in slow corners, but the relative loss appeared in the phases where the energy deployment had to sustain a constant top speed. That indicates something very specific. The aerodynamic platform works. Mechanical efficiency works. The basic correlation between tunnel and runway works. But integrated energy management is not yet fully exploited. And this is where the strategic element comes in. Because when a team completes 817 laps in 6 days, it's not just racking up mileage. You are building predictive models. He's fine-tuning thermal correlations. It is testing how the car responds when the hybrid system is stressed in different ranges. And in that process, Piastri's data was especially revealing. In the third sector of Sakir, where the combination of braking, rotation, and acceleration requires maximum precision, the Australian showed a consistent ability to anticipate power delivery without compromising stability. That's not just talent. That's technical sensitivity. And when a driver shows that he can extract performance in phases where the car is not yet fully optimized, that changes the internal focus. Because it means that the limit of the car is not the current development limit. It means there is hidden margin. The problem is that this margin is not unlocked with aerodynamic evolution alone. It is unlocked with fine integration between chassis, engine, and energy maps under the new 2026 architecture. And while Mercedes and Ferrari seem to have reached that integration a step earlier, McLaren is still fine-tuning. But here comes the most interesting part. Internal frustration is not born from a lack of speed. It comes from the feeling that the car could already be at the maximum level if certain details were closed. Piastri talked about understanding what he likes and doesn't like about the car. That, translated into technical language, means that there are setup windows where the car comes to life, and others where it loses its edge. And when that window is not completely defined, the pilot who first finds it begins to influence the direction of development. That is what is starting to happen after Bahrain. Because if the data shows that the car is strong on 2/3 of the track, if stability is present, if the traction is superior in critical areas, then the narrative changes. It is no longer McLaren is close. It is McLaren has something great, but it is not yet exploiting it 100%. And that's where the pressure starts to escalate. Because in Formula 1, when you know that you have latent performance and you see that other teams are already maximizing theirs, time becomes your biggest enemy. The second week in Bahrain was not just a productive test. It was the moment when McLaren understood that it has real fighting potential, but also that it needs to fine-tune it quickly. And when the potential is there but not yet fully unlocked, the technical decisions you make in the coming weeks can define the entire season. The question is no longer whether the MCL40 is competitive. The question is whether McLaren will arrive in time to unlock everything it has already proven it can do in Bahrain. What happens when the car has latent performance, and one of the drivers begins to demonstrate that he can access it before the team itself? Because that's exactly what the data suggests. The MCL40 is not a limited car. It is not a car that is on the verge of technical collapse. It is a stable, consistent car with a solid aerodynamic base and a real performance window when optimized correctly. The problem is not one of potential. It's synchronization. Synchronization between chassis and power unit. Synchronization between energy deployment and aerodynamic efficiency. Synchronization between what the car can do and what it is currently doing. And here the human factor comes in. When a driver like Oscar Piastri begins to make clear differences in specific areas of the circuit, especially in technical phases such as the braking rotation acceleration transition in the third sector, the team faces a silent decision. Where do we direct development? Because development is not neutral. Every suspension setting, every prioritized energy map, every aerodynamic setup chosen tends to favor one driving style more than another. And if the data from Bahrain indicates that Piastri is extracting maximum performance in areas where the car is not yet fully optimized, that changes the internal balance. It's not a war. It's not a breakup. It's something much more subtle. The second week of testing in Bahrain did not leave scandalous headlines. There were no accidents. There were no public dramas. There were no inflammatory statements. But he left something much more important. Data. And the data says that the MCL40 is based on a champion car. They say it is aerodynamically strong. They say it is mechanically stable. They say performance appears when potential is unleashed. But they also say that it is not yet fully exploited. And that is what is truly delicate. Because when a team knows that it has latent speed, the internal pressure does not disappear. It increases. Oscar Piastri was not only competitive, it was consistent. It was technically accurate. It was able to extract performance in areas where the car is still in the understanding phase. That changes the panorama. We are no longer talking about whether McLaren can fight. We are talking about whether McLaren will be able to unlock in time everything that Bahrain hinted at. The real unknown is whether the team will evolve with the same speed as its talent on the track. Because if they don't, what is optimism today can quickly turn into pressure. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.